over 20% of LGBTQ plus youth find comfort in religion. A new study from the Trevor Project has highlighted the comfort some LGBTQ plus youth find in religion and spirituality. In the study published on Wednesday, the organization conducted research on the religiousness or spirituality of queer youth and how that relates to mental health outcomes. It's based on a survey conducted from September to December of last year with almost 34,000 youth, along with the 2020 Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Youth Risk Behavior Survey. The study did not ask respondents which religion or spirituality they practiced. The report notes that religion can be fraught topics for queer people due to the discrimination emanating from certain religious groups, and many of these groups still exclude LGBTQ plus people. The group found that 21% of LGBTQ plus youth reported that their faith or spiritual tradition was either important or very important to them. Older youth, between the ages of 18 to 24, reported this more than younger people. Those youth who are less financially well off reported higher rates of putting importance on their religion. Of those who found importance in their religion, a majority of them live in the South. Native or indigenous queer youth reported the highest rates of religion being important or very important. Queer youth also said that they prayed, meditated, or privately reflected on their religion at least once a week, if not more frequently. I think that the survey that this conducted is actually really important to queer youth. And we're finding that the spiritual and religious journeys that queer youth have taken actually have a really large impact on their mental health, the outcomes of that. And not only this, while that journey can be both nerve-wracking, it's also really healing. And I find it really hopeful that a lot more queer youth are finding the opportunity to find that sort of spirituality and religiousness in the way that religion has moved forward.
You know, you touched on this, how surprising it is that this is the case given how faith-based organizations have been so discriminatory. And while I think that it's wonderful that, you know, young people have a renewed or a newfound connection to religion, what I felt was lacking in this is the why. What is drawing young people to faith now, given the history that these religious institutions have had with our community and other communities like ours?
Well, it's also surprising because there's been this decline in religious identification, certainly among adults, for many years. So it's interesting that young people, and especially young queer people, are turning to religion.
There were two things that did not surprise me. Number one, it spoke about the higher rates in the South, where church is everything in the South.
True.
Okay.
God help us all. But then that the indigenous, how did they phrase it? In any event.
Indigenous and native.
And indigenous and native. That doesn't surprise me either, because if I remember correctly, especially among indigenous people, they've always had this two-spirit concept where...
Accepting of...
Right. And in fact, if I remember correctly, I'll use the term medicine people so as to be inclusive, they were always of these two-spirit people.
They have a long history with being more fluid within their gender expression.
That's true.
I appreciate the inclusivity of it all because, you know, when I was growing up, none of this was available. There was no talking about it at first. You just followed whatever religion your parents, you know, bestowed upon you and say, we're Catholic, so you will go to church every Sunday. You will do this, you will do that. I followed through. I did all the sacraments. I did everything, but I never felt an actual connection to spirituality because everything seemed very robotic and calculated and timed.
That's the thing.
So
you can't force spirituality.
I didn't really, you know, I never got anything out of it, unfortunately.
I'll freely own that I'm in one of my agnostic phases that I've had throughout the years, because what you say is absolutely true. And for me personally, there was one step further of what was said in the church was never practiced on the outside world.
Right.
And I was frequently the target of
Yes.
you know.
Well, I don't think it's any secret that, to your point, that's why our community found religion and church in nightclubs.
Exactly.
With great music like that you spin at a, so.
Or we have a place like Sunshine Cathedral.
That's right.
Exactly.
Or
The other-
Sunshine Cathedral.
Right.
Hashtag my queer church.
I'm gonna call you Reverend Nina from there.
No.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.